Let's go look at a triplex in downtown Toronto. It needs a ton of work. There's a ton of upside, and let's go see about a ton of opportunities.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
I've been fortunate to buy and own a lot of investment properties. Single families, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, fiveplexes, you name it. And if it's needed to be renovated, we've renovated it, added value to it, done all sorts of crazy stuff to all of our properties. Which means I've been able to look at a lot of investment properties, pass up on a lot, and of course, as a realtor, help my clients buy a lot of investment properties. And when we do this, it takes a tremendous amount of due diligence. But what I've learned over the years is we only need to scale it back to 3 magical questions. And we're going to answer these 3 magical questions throughout the day. And here's those 3 questions in a specific order, and you'll understand the order once I say the questions. The first question, how are we going to buy the property? The second question, how can we add value to the property? And the third and most important question that gets overlooked every single time you go buy a property, whether it's your primary residence or an investment property or what have you, how are you going to exit the property? We're going to answer these 3 questions throughout the day. And we're going to look at how we can add value to this property. We're going to look at, of course, how can we exit the property? And of course, we're going to do it right there in the property. But first, we need to go pick up the listing agents. All right, so we're here to find Dylan. We're at our Aurora Keller Williams office. And I think we found the crew.
Hey Gary.
We're all here.
What's going on?
We're heading downtown. We're gonna go see this triplex. We're gonna figure out how to analyze it. We're gonna figure out if we're gonna buy it today, Dylan.
That's right.
I like it. And we're just hanging out here. This is what realtors do all day. They just sit in the kitchen. No, I'm kidding. They do work.
Many different kitchens.
Yeah, many different
In your
kitchens.
kitchen, yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right, Dylan, let's hit the road.
Let's go.
Okay, we are inside 208 Woodbine, and I'm sure it's really echoey, but that's what you get when you're in a Century home. I'm here with the listing agent, Dylan Silvernagel. He's gonna walk us through each of the 3 units, which they're all 1-bedroom
All
units.
1 bedrooms, yep.
And we're gonna talk about those 3 questions. Remember what they are? How can we buy it? How can we add value? That's what we're gonna focus on first. And then how can we exit the property? Dylan, walk us through.
Let's come take a look. Let's go.
This now. We don't know, we don't care how we got here, but we won't stay still. It's time to go. And I know we're all gonna wait for a sign to show me. And all these dreams we have are ready for reality. This is the day, this is the time we're breaking down and leaving all behind. Yeah, we're ready. We're on top of the world, yeah, we're feeling so good. Now we're walking the path that they can bring us down. We're on top of the world, yeah, we're feeling so good.
So we're back in the main entranceway for the first unit, and when we're looking at this, there's a few things that came to mind as Dylan walked me through. One, the kitchen, back in the corner, right, Dylan? Entirely small. I would love to see that kitchen moved into the area or the room that we're in now.
We talked about maybe a nice L kitchen in here, right?
Yeah, I like it because really this is just a separate living room the way it's set up right now. And at the front of the home, if you recall, there is a nice big picture window, fireplace, and there there's gas. So here's the cool thing. There's 3 separate gas meters for this house, and I would add a gas insert here to help with the heat and the ambience of that room. How cool would that look? Beautiful hardwood floors. If you can see that, I would definitely refinish these floors, keep that old style look, Dylan. And then in the back here where the kitchen was, you could say?
Yeah, let's say was.
Yeah. In the back here, here's what I would do. This leads us into the bedroom at the back. I would actually close this off, take out all the plumbing and everything else, and make this into a closet for that master or for that bedroom there, because that is the one thing that this main floor unit lacks is closet or storage space. Here we are in the main bedroom of the first unit, and as you can see, all the rooms and everything we walk in today is going to obviously need paint and walls repaired. They're all lath and plaster walls. Don't fret, there's many people out there that know how to take care of those types of walls, but check out some of this trim work down here. That was typically in the old century homes, old gumwood we would call that, and beautifully stained, but it's been painted on many times. I'd paint that just a nice white fresh color, give it a nice and vibrant clean color. Of course, you're going to do some neutral colors for the walls. Second floor unit, Dylan, you said it's the biggest. We're currently standing in the kitchen. Of course, we're going to update the kitchen cabinets. We are overlooking, as I move the camera, a beautiful shot out the back, and that is the separate garage, which we're going to show you some footage of, and you can certainly add value and income to that. Tremendous amount of income. Love it. Dylan, what are we doing up here?
Yeah, so I think what you can see is we still got a lot of light in this unit. We don't have a lot of the lights on, but we got a lot of light because of all the windows we have in here. It's a big space. And the great thing is, with that space, you're going to be able to charge more rent in this unit than we would on our main floor unit.
Okay, we're up in the third floor unit, and this one has a ton of potential. This could be a living room or bedroom, but we got some ideas of what it could be and what it should be. Triplexes. This home has a tremendous amount of value, as we talked about, Dylan, and on the way down, we talked about the three magical questions. How can we buy it? How can we add value? How can we exit the property? How are we going to buy a property like this? Dylan, as you would know, being a realtor and getting your buyers qualified to buy properties in this type of environment is incredibly difficult.
Yes, especially with what we're looking at in terms of the condition of the property and the money that we're going to have to put into it, right?
Absolutely. So if I put my investor hat on,
let me jump in real quick before we keep going. I want to first say thank you to Gary for bringing this opportunity here to do the video, because what I know of you is how long you've had your investor hat on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you come into a property like this and you can see the possibility. We've talked about some of that already. We're going to talk about it a little bit more, but the potential for an investor, we're analyzing. Now, how do you talk to your guys when you take it back to them and say, this is how we're going to go about buying this thing?
Love that question. How do we present it to an investor so the investor can say yes? It's simple when we boil it down.
Yeah.
Because it's not
exactly simple, but when you start taking a look at it and the options that you have, there are options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are we going to buy a property like this? As we just walked through, it needs, we're not going to sugarcoat it. It needs a tremendous amount of work to bring it up to spec, we'll call it, or up to the standards that we'd like to have as owners, as investors, and as proud landlords, right? Everything from we didn't go down there, but it definitely, trust me, it needs foundation work. So there's going to be foundation repair. There's exterior repair, everything from some of the roof lines or shingles to the downspouts to the curb appeal, if you will, right? So all those things. But let's talk about how are we going to purchase the home, because walking into a bank and getting a mortgage for a home like this, especially when it's vacant and in a state of repair, and there's going to be some electrical upgrades that are going to be required. Most mortgage companies are going to shy away from that. But that's okay, because we're not like most investors. We don't take the first no as our golden answer. We're going to work with a mortgage broker first and foremost that understands investment properties. On a project like this, the BRRRR method, right? Buy, renovate, refinance, repeat, this sets this up perfectly, because obviously we got to renovate. First, we're going to buy it. We've got to renovate, and then after we renovate, that means we've increased the value of the property. So on something like this, Dylan, I'm going to take this to our investors that have the means to close on it. Always with cash. That's your first line of looking at a property. And if you don't have access to cash, who does? So is it a joint venture partner, perhaps, or usually your best partner is a bank or a lender. Now, as I said, most lenders aren't going to lend on something like this. However, there's a lot of lenders that will. That's why it's important to work with a mortgage broker that knows and understands investment properties such as this. What type of term? What does that look like? Well, I'm going to choose a mortgage product that is probably about 2 years or less, meaning I only want their money for 2 years.
And now explain why you'd want to only have it for the 2 years, Gary.
Love it. Because during those 2 years, and most likely much sooner, probably in about 12 months time, I'm going to have this property completely renovated, gutted, renovated, and most importantly, tenanted, which brings us income, at which point it'll be not the value that we purchased at, but a much higher value.
Yes.
And at that time, I want to go get a new appraisal done on the property because I've added value to the property, and I want to pull out as much as that money that I possibly can. And that's the refinance, so we can recycle going forward.
Yes. And that goes right back to your BRRRR method, where we're pulling that money back out. We're maybe paying back our investors, or if it was us, we're paying back ourselves for the next venture that we choose to go down.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can see how we're going to purchase this property. Either all with cash, we're going to have the renovation funds already lined up. That's going to be done with yourselves or a joint venture partner, and as well as going to a lender that's going to lend us that money. That could be private money, that could be a B lender, whatever that looks like. A lesson I learned a long time ago, it's not the cost of the money, it's the access to money. And in this case, we want access so we can do the renovations that need it. Question number 2, how can we add value? This is clear.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot as we first walked through it, but let's do a quick synopsis as we go through floor by floor. So on the main floor, I think one of the biggest ones we talked about is moving that kitchen, going from the small spot back into that middle room, opening it up. We even talked, you and me off camera, about opening up that the doorway between that middle and front room, so you've got a little bit more space, adding that closet in the back. I think those are the simplest ways to add value on that main floor.
Absolutely. And for all of these units, we know we're doing new, we're refinishing the floors, or we're doing new floors, we're painting, and we're doing all the normal stuff, right? But where we can adjust it just ever so slightly to create a better living space and a better living experience for our tenants, because we want long-term tenants, not short-term tenants. Long-term is always better in the long run, trust me. The other thing that we're adding value to is there's a 3-car garage, detached garage behind the home. Have you ever thought about renting out the garage spaces individually to those tenants? Do it, because after all of these units are renovated, right? They're gonna bring in approximately $2,000 or more a month per unit, and the moment you add a separate garage to that, you're adding another, we'll call it $200 to $300 a month per garage. To get the garage upgraded, it's not going to cost much. Right now, it's a dirt floor, so you'd want to pour a new concrete floor, do some point work on the bricks outside, and we'll show you what that looks like. But that is certainly going to add a tremendous amount of value to your tenants and to the property itself. 3rd floor unit, well, we talked about perhaps removing that middle wall, and you're obviously going to have to put a header in over top, but of course you're going to have a planner and designer come in and make sure that you are up to code on everything that you'd want to do there. We talked briefly about doing the electrical upgrade. There is some knob and tube, but not much in this home. But here's an awesome opportunity, because we had mentioned that this unit, or this building, has 3 separate gas meters.
Yes.
This is a great opportunity to do 3 separate electrical meters as well, because we always want to hand over that cost to the tenants.
Absolutely. Anytime that we can, that's the way to do it. They're more responsible when when the bill is in their name than in our name.
Absolutely. So you're going to be rewiring, reconfiguring a lot of that stuff anyways. Build that in. I would look at building that into my renovation budget. Now, sometimes the cost is just too much, so you're going to have to look at that. You're going to have to weigh out the pros and the cons for that.
Okay, so the final thing that we talked about a little bit off camera, but we haven't got to yet, I still love the idea of taking advantage of that unfinished basement that we haven't really, I don't even know if we've actually looked at it on camera, but there is an unfinished basement currently where you could put another 1-bedroom unit. Now, what I love what that could do for you in terms of maximizing your monthly income is taking the 2nd and 3rd unit, combining them, so now it's a 3-bedroom unit, dramatically increases the rent that we can charge for it, and you've still got your 3 units. You'd still have your unit on the main floor that we've talked about how we improve, and then you've got the one in the basement. Now, it's a bigger undertaking to get that basement ready for another unit, but it's something that you could evaluate and say, hey, is the long run payoff going to be worth it for me?
Third question is, how are we going to exit the property? Well, for those of you that know the beaches area, the exit is already prepared for you, I should say.
Yes.
An investment property in the beaches area is always highly in demand. Trust me on this one. Trust anybody. Go do the research yourself. When you have a product, a legal triplex, in any location, there's always a second question. Okay, now what does the exit look like? Do people want it? Yes, people want it. And we are literally moments away from the Starbucks and the Queen Street and the Jazz Festival and everything else that comes along with that. And if you don't know anything about Queen Street and the beaches and the Jazz Festival, just look it up. It's awesome. It's a great place.
Yeah, all the great little coffee shops, all the great little brunch spots. It's not all the commercial chains, though we love our Starbucks. There's lots of great character in the beaches, not to mention you're, of course, close to the beach and all the other parks and great activities that we have down.
Getting to downtown, you're on the TTC, incredibly easy. You don't have to have a car if you live in the beaches. You can get anywhere incredibly easy. You're able to exit this property, most likely with tremendous amount of equity, because we're not looking at selling this property in 2 or 3 years from now. This is a long-term hold. And when you have long-term holds, that allows for growth on the equity and the mortgage pay down. So that's an advantage to you as the owner. Exiting a property like this in the beaches in a high demand area, you should always set yourself up for a quicker sale than typical. And when working with a great realtor, tremendous amount of exposure as well.
All right, well, Gary, thank you so much for coming down to check out my newest listing. I think it's amazing that you're showing this off to all your investor clients. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much for joining me.
Our pleasure. Thanks for the tour. Reach out to any one of us and we're happy to show you. And as Dylan said, if you can answer these 3 questions or you need help answering these 3 questions, reach out to us. We're always happy to answer anything. And even if it's not on a property like this, hey, this is what we're here for.